Welcome to the Code 4 Couples podcast, focusing on topics for law enforcement officers and couples to keep you and your relationship connected, resilient, and Code 4. Now, your host, law enforcement expert Cyndi Doyle, author of Hold the Line and My Wife.
Hey, y'all, and welcome back to Code 4 Couples. As promised, I have back Kristal DeSantis. Kristal, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. We actually had to schedule another date together to do this because we had so much we were talking about last time. Thank you for coming back on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
As a recap, if you have not watched the last podcast, that podcast was about, we wound up talking about safety and how to create safety in your relationship with these 4 S's. And those 4 S's are, I'm going to hopefully get this right: self-awareness, stability, self-regulation, and self-expression. Did I get that correct, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And for those of you who haven't watched, well, you could watch it because I will upload these on YouTube someday. But if you didn't listen to the last podcast, just so you know, Kristal is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She is in Austin, Texas. She is a certified clinical trauma professional, and she is also the founder and director of Austin Strong Relationship Building Center. Oh, and that wasn't enough. She has a book. And her book is called Strong, a Relationship Field Guide for the Modern Man. This is why Kristal has so much good information on. I want to talk about that. Kristal, last time we were talking about creating the safety in our relationship, and we have these 4 S's now. What happens when we don't have that kind of safety in our relationship?
One of the things that I noticed when I was doing my training to become a marriage and family therapist, and then in my work and in consultation, and then starting to see clients, what I noticed is people often focus on trust, right? They say we have trust issues, we need to rebuild trust with each other. But what I found is that if people didn't have those 4 S's of safety, the trust building was always going to be a struggle. Right. And so if you don't feel safe with somebody, you will never trust them. And getting these 4 S's of safety down, then we can work on building trust in the relationship, because obviously trust is very important in any relationship. But I wanted to go back a step further and say, again, even with this population, first responders, we know that if you don't feel safe, you're not going to trust your partner, the person that you're talking to, the city that you work for. If you don't feel like they have your back, you can't trust them, right? If you don't feel like they're going to keep you safe, there is no amount of convincing that they will do that will convince you to trust them.
Yeah. And I think that trust and safety is, I feel like it minimizes it to say that it's important, but it's ingrained in a different way with first responders and first responder couples. And it's also threatened in a weird, different way because of the time we don't have together, because of the lens that we can look at the world through. We know what's out there. We know what people do. We don't walk around in a bubble. And so I think it's threatened in a different way, or it can be threatened in a different way. And also I think about emotional armor, the physical armor that we put on, but then the emotional armor, and spouses put on emotional armor as well in order to be able to let their spouses go off. And so figuring out how to take that emotional armor off in order to be able to feel safe and to trust. I mean, it has to come off, but I think you kind of give us a really good outline of that, but it definitely impacts our relationships if we don't take that emotional armor off.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into what I wanted to share today, which is the last skill of safety is self-expression, right? And being able to reconnect with your spouse when you come home, or able to reconnect with your partner when they come home, is that last little bit of safety that then leads to trust in a relationship. And one of the things that I've noticed, again, just in working with people, is the way that we socialize men and women to communicate with each other is incredibly different. I came from a different culture. I grew up in Japan. And then when I moved to the States, I noticed that the way that men bond with each other and the way they communicate with each other, and then the way women bond together and the way they communicate with each other are just very, very different. So when I was working with couples, often I saw that a lot of mistrust, a lot of hurt feelings were simply because of the inability to communicate in a way that shared a common language. It was just
Yeah.
a lot.
Can I interrupt real quick on that one? Because I was
Mhm,
talking with one of my firefighters yesterday, and it's interesting that you're saying this common language because we were taught it was reflecting a feeling. And I
mhm,
said, it really hurts. And he looked at me and goes, no. I was like, really? Okay. He said, I mean, hurt's kind of deep. And I thought,
mhm,
"That's interesting." And I said, "Hold on, this is really interesting because I think this feeling is different when I'm saying it." And he says,
mhm.
"Well, I can kind of understand why you would say hurt." I said, "Yeah, but your hurt, my hurt might be, oh, I stubbed my toe, that hurt." And your,
Mhm.
is it broken? Is it bleeding? Is it
Exactly.
disjointed? That's hurt, right? That's pain. And so
Mhm.
I it's more than that, but I just thought that was interesting that just in a common language of feelings, it can be really
Mhm.
different because of the experience of first responders and what they see
Absolutely.
and the spectrum of something. Our spectrum is maybe smaller or on the lower end to what they see on a spectrum. That's what you're stressed out about? I'll tell you,
Uh-huh.
stress, right? Sorry,
Totally.
I just had to share
Totally.
that too. Right.
Absolutely. No, that reminds me, I was talking with my husband, who's a fire
Uh-huh.
captain, and I was saying, he was, "How's your day?" And I'm, "Oh, I'm struggling." And he was, "Are you okay? Do you need, what do you need?" And very solicitous and very, very kind. And I was, "What is happening? This is nice, but what are you hearing when I say struggling?" He's, "Are you having a bad day? Is there anything I can do for you?" And I'm, "No, it's raining and I haven't had my coffee and I'm struggling."
Different levels of struggle, right?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. He's like, "I thought you were having something really hard." I was, "No, it's just, if yeah, I don't know."
So
It's
language can be really different. And
absolutely.
I love that you're bringing this up, but I think you're going somewhere else with this than maybe I diverted us. So come back and tell us
Yes,
how language, you were saying that we're culture different. Men and women are
yes.
definitely culture different, and how
Mhm.
we connect is very different gender wise many times.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, one of the things that I always find is really important to normalize is that everybody has emotions. There is no
Hmm.
human being on earth that doesn't, unless there's some fundamental hardware issues there, because there is an entire structure of your brain that's dedicated to processing emotions. It's the limbic system, which helps us connect. That is the entire purpose of our limbic system, right? Is that we share information with our other species, right? With
Hmm.
other members of our species. That's
Yeah.
why we have a limbic system, because it's important for survival. Once again, right? If I'm scared, I need to be able to tell somebody, "Hey, I don't feel good about walking into this meadow here. There's something that feels a little off," right? Because that could potentially be information for survival, right?
Absolutely.
But what has happened is that as we've just gotten more intellectual, there's been this idea that logic is better than emotion. And I
Mm-hmm.
see this so often in couples, and even like you said, of being able to have a common language where it's like, wait, are you telling me because you want me to logic this with you to solve your problem? Or are you telling me just to share your experience? And that's again where I saw couples kind of get into a clash all the time, really piecing this out. First of all, emotions and sensations are just information about your experience. And again, it's data.
Mm-hmm.
If we're being logical here, ignoring emotions is like driving with your left eye closed. It's ignoring half of the information that your brain is trying to send you about what is happening to you, right?
Yes.
And the
Yes.
same thing, if you're listening to your partner and you're like, "I don't want to hear about any emotions, it's quote unquote drama," you're ignoring or
Mm.
you're cutting off half of what you could be connecting with your partner through. That's something, is like, if I could tell anybody, if I could tell any couple one thing, is your relationship will not survive without emotional connection. The end. That's it.
And many times that's what we're looking for. And even when couples come in, and y'all have heard me say this so many times. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it again, that many times people are like, oh, we need to communicate better. But really what we're looking for is that connection. And
Mhm.
what you're pointing out to all of us is that, hey, you're missing perhaps 50% of the information. Because if I'm driving around with my left eye closed, that like
Uh-huh.
I'm going to just be turning right the whole time, right?
Yeah.
I might not, I'm going to be weaving around, but the fact that the emotions and sensations, I thought that was really important. So what's going on in our body? The
Yep.
sensations, I'm feeling tingly, I'm feeling
Mhm.
choked up, I feel pressure. Like sometimes we
Mhm.
can't find those emotions, and especially if we're looking at a different language, and I might be stepping into your your information here, but I'm just thinking like if we do not have the same language, if we're cultured different, finding something like even just bodily sensations can help to express a feeling or an
Mhm.
emotion that doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm sad, right? We don't
Mhm.
have to use that language, but we have to use some language
Yes.
around the emotions and sensations. And I love the fact that you just said, it's just information.
Just information.
This is your body communicating to you.
Mhm.
And so it's information you need to take in,
Mhm.
which many times are, I think we all do this, but I think our first responders are maybe a little more attuned to this. They may feel like, I don't know, something sketchy, right? Like you
Yeah,
said, oh, that field, I don't know. Like that's something to listen
absolutely.
to. Perfect. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Good.
Again, I think there's been kind of a demonization of emotions in our society as
Mm,
it's drama, it's hysteria, it's, a lot. But being able to just say, look, this is information. What matters is how I transmit and listen to the information, right? Because this is where I think
ooh,
emotions do get a bad rap, is that because we
mhm,
don't have the ability to talk about them safely, they come out in all
mm,
kinds of really unsafe ways. People then just
mhm.
start yelling at each other. They end up, in these fights that go on way too long, or emotions become weaponized, right? I'm sad. What are you going to do about it? And you're like, I don't know, right? But this is where in couples, that's where it becomes a really touchy thing. And people then get afraid to talk about emotions, right? Where they're like, how was your day? Good, great, okay, moving on, right?
Mhm.
Anyway, one of the things I really like to do is make sure that people have skills and tools, right? Because we could talk about this all day, but what can you walk away with here? One of the things that I've done is I've created what I call 4 positions of conversation. And I
Okay.
even in my office, I have them printed out on a little business card that I give to people so they can stick it in their wallets when they leave, or I tell them, put it on your fridge, because what I want you to do is next time you and your partner are feeling like you're having 2 different conversations, you probably are. So time out.
Yeah.
Look at the positions, see which one your partner wants you to be playing, right? And
Okay.
again,
I am
I use
digging this.
it's not none of these conversational positions are wrong. It's just when you're playing 2 different games at the same time, your partner's trying to go swimming and you're showing up in full hockey gear, one of you is going to be miserable, right? You're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
struggle. Being, yeah.
I was wondering, I think, sorry if I'm interrupting again, but my thought was, oh, yes, I think this is why people repeat themselves,
Mhm. Mhm.
because there are times where I'm like, yes, I hear what you're saying. What is it that you need me to tell you? Because I've heard you, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. And we don't have that much time together. We want to maximize. So I love
Mhm.
this idea. Like that would be a sign for me, probably like if I'm feeling frustrated, I'd be like, oh,
Mhm.
time out. Let's go look at those positions, baby. So
Yeah.
I love this.
Yes.
Yeah,
And again, like you said, especially when with our first responders, we don't often have, at least again, every schedule is different, but sometimes we have to just maximize the time we have, right?
absolutely.
It's not
Yes.
about quantity. We don't often get this like quantity time, but we need quality. And a huge
Yes.
part of that is about making sure that when you do have time to connect, you are connecting well in the way that you want to, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Again, I
let's talk
just
about
love,
these positions.
yeah, so these 4 positions of conversations. We start with listening. And the goal of this
Okay.
position is just paying attention to your partner, right? It is actually, it's really just about making encouraging noises to them. The message you're sending them in this position is, I hear you, tell me more. Right? Let's say
Mm,
you walk in the door and you're like, hey, babe, how was your day? And she's like, okay, the dog got out and then the baby puked on the carpet and then the neighbor came over and started taking up all my time. And if you're walking into that, your body might immediately shift into, oh my God, I don't want to hear this. Or, okay, where's the problem? Point me to the pile of puke. Like, how can I fix this? But if you're able to say, wait, hold on, do you just want me to listen or do you want me to fix? Right?
Yeah.
If she says, oh, just listen, I'm just venting, then all you have to do is make encouraging noises and repeat back what you're hearing. So, oh man, the baby puked. Oh, that sucks. Oh, the dog got out. Oh, well, here she is. So good job, babe. And oh, the neighbor came over. Wow, that sounds annoying. Right? And so that's listening. You're just saying, I hear you.
Perfect.
Tell me more. Okay. Position 2 is joining. That's where it's about expressing empathy and understanding. The message you're sending in this position is, I understand how you feel. This is where it really comes into the emotional connection. Listening is very passive, right? It's inviting monologue, right? Hey, keep going. What else? What else? Oh no, then that happened. Oh, what else? What else? Joining is about then coming into the experience with your partner, right? That's where you also have to access your emotions and express some empathy, right? And again, sometimes empathy words or empathy phrases are a little bit difficult, especially for, again, the way that I've noticed that we tend to socialize men. Women automatically do these two positions,
Okay.
listening and joining. Women automatically do this with each other because that's how we're socialized, right? Your friend calls, your
Okay.
sister calls, you're like, what happened? You listen, she's going, and you're like, oh no. That's all you do. And then when she slows down, you're like, oh, babe, well, what do you need? I'm so sorry that's happening to you. And oh, that sounds like it's terrible. Is there anything I can
It's
do?
hard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds really hard. And same thing. Oh, I had a day like that the other week. I'm so sorry, right? Joining in.
Mm-hmm.
Women do that for each other. This is also where, if you were socialized as a man, these two positions are going to take some practice for you. Okay. And that's part of why in my book, I also put a little empathy bingo, a little infographic, so that you can just point to one of the squares and read it. It's like, oh, that would upset me too. Wow, I'm sorry you experienced that. That sucks that that happened to you. Oh, I'm here for you. You didn't deserve that. And so really, it's just about
Wow.
practicing those phrases, because often, again, when women share, that's what they're hoping to hear, because that's what they've been
Yes.
socialized to expect, right?
Yes.
That's the empathy position. Okay.
Okay.
And then now we switch into the two that, again, not every woman, not every man, but that men are generally more used to. So position 3 is fixing, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
problem solving. But again, here's the thing. If your partner is starting at position 1 and you jump straight to position 3, you're going to clash. I just
Yes.
want you to listen. I'm just telling you about my day. And you're like, so where's the problem? You've jumped to position 3. She's not ready. Go back.
Mm-hmm. I'm pausing. I am letting you finish your 4 positions. Go
Okay.
ahead.
The fixing also, again, I also say this is that if you don't start at position 1 and 2, nobody's going to listen to 3.
My favorite phrase for that is unsolicited advice is criticism. So people will automatically hear that fixing is criticism.
Mhm.
There's so much here. I'm loving your 4 positions. Okay. So we got the
Okay.
fixing one.
Fixing. And then position 4 is actually, I enjoy it personally. I love it, but not everybody does. It's debating. So it's playing devil's advocate. And this is something that I've actually noticed among groups of men. They do this to bond all the time. So this is where I like having the visual. I have a visual in my book and I print out these little cards because I'm like,
Huh.
positions 1 and 2 are where women tend to gravitate, because that's the way we're socialized. We don't necessarily want to offer anybody advice. We definitely don't want to debate their experience. So we just stick in the listening and the joining. Oh, tell me
Mhm.
more. I'm so sorry that's happening. And then sometimes that's it. Then your friend's like, oh, thanks for listening. All right, I got to go. Baby puked again. I'm out. Well, thanks you. Thanks, love. What I noticed for men is they're like, oh, I feel so frustrated because I listened and then I joined and then she didn't need a solution. And I hate
Yeah.
this. Or I
So it's
wanted to tell her,
unsatisfying to them.
or they want to jump to debate, which is, again, the way men tend to bond with each other. A guy calls another guy, he's not going to necessarily sit there and vent. He's going to be like, hey, my car's making a stupid noise. Do you want to come over and look at it? Right? Or do you have that tool that I lent you last week? So I'm asking for a solution, right?
Yes.
Or I'm like, hey, I think it's this. And again, and look at me being very stereotyped, but often this is the way that I've sat around and heard men, again, part of this, debating about things that just for the heck of it.
I totally understand what you are talking about, where it's like, well, you're calling it debate. And I also, it's that confrontation that kind of
Yes,
feels good. Like, well, I think that's a bunch of crap. I think this is a better beer
exactly.
or whatever it is, right?
Exactly.
You think
Yes.
I'm just thinking, I'm like, you think
Uh-huh.
that's good? What? Who has that
Yeah.
taste? Like, that is unrefined if you like that. Like, there's this weird
Exactly.
challenge, and women
Absolutely.
typically do not do that. I'm with you. If we go gender
Exactly.
wise, typically women do not challenge in that
Mm-mm.
way. Like, what are you thinking? Get your head out of your butt, right? Like, that's what we do
Yes,
commonly.
absolutely. Yes, it's kind of
Okay.
even physically, right? So it is that challenge, and I'm calling it debate. And again, let's
No,
be
debate's
pedantic.
great. Yeah.
Um, but it is about that challenge, right? It's like, hey, let me play devil's advocate here. And again, if you think about sometimes even physically, men will come into a party and then suddenly somebody's wrestling and the women are like hugging and, oh, you look beautiful. And they're over here somehow fighting. And you're like, I don't know what's happening, right? But I guess, again, that's,
Okay. So I'm listening to you and I'm like, oh, because I think even last night, my husband and I was working on something. We're sitting together in the same space. He was watching a show or it was on the background or something. We're doing something. And he says something to me. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's a very positioned kind of statement for you to make. And I'm like, I don't know. That seems like very all or nothing. I think there's a lot of things and I and I'm like, why are we having this conversation in my head? How is this beneficial? We're just sitting
uh-huh.
here talking about something we're going to take positions on something. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's trying to connect with me, is what he's
Yes.
trying to do.
Exactly, exactly. And so this is what I really want to validate. And this is also where it's important
Yeah.
for women to understand, because
Yeah.
often then women come in and they're frustrated. They're like, I just want him to
Hmm.
listen. He keeps trying to fix me. It makes me feel like he doesn't validate my emotions, that he thinks I'm broken. He's trying to fix me. And I'm like, he's trying to help, right? He
Yeah.
sees that you're in pain and he's trying to take the pain away. But that's not what you're looking for.
I have a couple of different thoughts that I was like trying to hold my tongue and not say anything for a little bit. First of all, I think as human beings, I really think that we struggle to see other people struggling and that we naturally want to help.
Mhm.
Sometimes I don't think, yeah, sometimes I think maybe that is gender based, but I also think as human beings, we don't want to see other people struggle. And we offer suggestions. Have you
Mhm.
tried this? You talked about the baby throwing up,
Mhm.
right? Like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Is she doing this? And we offer this
Totally.
advice,
Oh,
right? And I
totally.
think that's because we don't want people to struggle. Like we're
Mhm.
uncomfortable with other people's struggle. And we don't, while that struggle connects us, it's also, oh, let's fix this. I think that's
Absolutely.
point one. Point two, I think, and I think you're going to agree with me on this. When first responders spend all day fixing other people's problems, number
Mhm.
one,
Mhm.
condition to fix. Number
Mhm.
two, they're dealing with people that maybe do not make the best decisions out there. And so they come up with some judgments
Mhm.
and a position on something. And so I'm wondering if that also impacts their desire to debate as well. What are your thoughts on that?
I can definitely, and again, I think you bring up a great point that it's not always really gendered, right? We all
Mhm.
feel, one of the phrases I say is one of the hardest things is watching somebody you love in pain, right? This
Oh,
is one of the
absolutely.
hardest
Yeah.
human experiences, right?
Mhm.
Watching somebody you care about be in pain that you can't do anything about, right? That is a really difficult place to be. And again, like you said, for first responders, they are used to being the ones that can do something about it, right? You see people on the worst day of their lives, and you get to come in
Yeah.
and do something. To be told, no,
Absolutely.
you cannot use any of your skills here. Just stay there and watch me struggle. That's incredibly hard.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so that's also where it can become, where I see, especially for first responders, developing distress tolerance so that you can do that without wanting to pull away and disconnect and run away. And then it
Mhm.
becomes that frustration part of, hey, if you don't want to take what I'm offering, then I don't even know why I'm here. Right?
Yeah.
then
I
I
was
don't know
just
how to help
looking at
you.
the 4 S's and I was like, oh, does that maybe go back up to self-regulation? Like, how can we make,
Mhm,
how can I assess what's going on? Right. So
mhm,
self-awareness, right. So I'm like
mhm.
constantly figuring out that safety scenario. And I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, this is also integrated. You
yeah.
go, Crystal.
Well, and the one thing I do want to also emphasize, like you said, is one of my phrases. I think, I don't know if I said this last time, but being a hero doesn't always let you be human, right?
Huh?
Being in that position of like, here I am to save the day, to fix things, is not always what your partner wants from you. That your partner wants the human, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's also where you get to switch out of, the fixing mode all the time, those coming in to save the day, and work less hard. Because honestly, and again, I validate this, and I lead couples through this exercise in my session of no listening. Literally, don't work hard at all. Repeat back the last word that you heard them say. Like that's
Yes.
it. And same
Yes.
thing with empathy, like literally pick a square out of the book. Repeat this
I love
phrase.
that. Do you have that? Do you have that sitting there?
Yeah.
Can you hold it
Yeah.
up? Yes. Okay. See,
Yeah.
guys, if you're on the video,
Oh,
you're going to be able to see the square. But maybe that's something that, thank you. Maybe that's
yeah.
something that we can connect with, and maybe I can provide it as a link to your website, and maybe
Yeah.
people can get connected or get the book and get those the empathy bingo. I mean, you set them up. It's setting you up for success, right? Like,
Exactly.
hey, just have a picture of that on my phone and let me just pick a
Ex-
square. Yes,
exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly.
I love it.
The other
Okay.
thing I have in my book is also the emotion wheel,
Oh,
which
yeah.
again, if you don't have the words to talk about your emotions, you're not going to do a great job of
Mhm.
connecting with your emotions. Sometimes I talk about it like, some people were raised in homes that weren't very comfortable with emotion language. So you got like the restaurant crayon box where there's like, oh, there's 4 colors in here. That's cool.
Mad, sad, glad. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And then other people grew up in homes, or as they've developed, they have the 64 Crayola box, right? And so they could just
Hmm.
describe things with more nuance. And emotion wheel also in the book. But
Good.
yes. Then again, just for women as well, and well, whoever, but debate, being able to see it not as confrontation, not as dismissal, but as a way to bond. Like you just said, sitting there with your partner and being like, why are we doing this? Recognizing it for what it is, but then being able to ask for what it is you need. Like, hey, I notice you're in position 4. I know that's how you bond. What I'm actually looking for right now is position 2. Can I just get some empathy and validation here? Like, I'm kind of too
And then we'll
tired to
move
debate.
back to 4 for you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It gets, and
exactly.
this is, it goes back to what you were saying at the beginning of this. I want to circle back, but what we had talked about was this common language,
Mhm,
right? And
mhm,
so having these 4 positions
mhm,
provides a common language to people
mhm,
that they can say, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. It also, here's another thought
mhm,
that I have, just my psychotherapy counselor brain here was also like, oh, if I am focused on what position is my partner in, it
mhm,
takes me out of my amygdala fight or flight response too. Is
mhm.
did you do that on purpose?
Well, it is definitely a way to diffuse conflict very quickly.
It
It's
is,
definitely a
yeah.
way to, like you said, bring that prefrontal cortex back online, because when you, and I always say this, like if you start feeling yourself get frustrated in a conversation, check in
Hmm.
with the positions, because that it brings your prefrontal cortex back online, because now you're having to, I don't know, have a little of a higher thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Well, I'm having to analyze, which is, it takes it
exactly.
out of the emotion, right? We
Hmm.
don't want to drive with our left eye covered. However,
Hmm.
sometimes when the emotion maybe is my right eye is
Yes,
starting to get covered up, I have to bring that into a different perspective. And so I'm
exactly.
using my analytical mind or my wise mind to figure out what's going on here. And
Hmm.
so I think you're talking about this, and it really is this balance of, okay, hey, we've got to continually create the safety in our relationships. And then there's
Hmm.
also an aspect here where it's, okay, well, how do these positions provide this common communication and help us to get through conflict differently and safely?
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's also what then builds trust, because one of the things that I
Hmm.
saw is, and if, If your partner cannot trust that you are willing to engage in hard conversations with them, if you're the person that would rather avoid a hard conversation, kick it under the rug, or do everything in your power to not be the one to bring up a hard conversation, that puts your partner in the position of having to do that. And it actually it erodes respect. If I
Yes.
can't, here you are, let's say if you're a first responder, you're big and you're brave, you're courageous, but you're not courageous enough to tell me about something that's bothering you. You're not courageous enough to bring up a hard conversation. Then, that's really what is needed in the relationship. And so then, often what I see, and it's not just first responders, but then people go to where they're good. People avoid things they're not good at, right? And so
Right.
this is part of breaking this down into, if you can get these skills and tools under your belt, you'll also feel more confident in opening up these conversations because you won't feel so lost, right? And that's what
Mm-hmm.
I often hear is people, they're like, it's not that I don't want to have those hard conversations. I get lost immediately, or that spirals and then we're in a fight for 4 hours. I just don't have that kind of time in my life. It's like, great. So if we have some skills and tools, then you can maybe feel more confident in opening up some of these conversations.
Yeah, this is a great one to put in your toolbox. There are so many different tools. I know you and I could unpack this for hours, but
Mhm.
this is just, and I love that's one thing that you are doing that I totally agree with is yes, there's a problem, but let's give you a solution to this. And
Absolutely.
these four positions are a great way and a great tool for people to be able to say, okay, hold on. I know how to move through this in a different way and maybe have the
Mhm.
confidence to be able to have that conversation. I do agree with you that it takes courage. That's actually one of there's if there was a Venn diagram, we would overlap there for sure. It takes
Uh-huh.
courage to have these difficult conversations. Many first responders don't want to have conflict because they deal with conflict all the time at work.
Mhm.
So let's make
Mhm.
home just this happy little place. And I think as spouses, many
Mhm.
times we're like, we don't want conflict because, like you said, our time together is usually
Mhm.
condensed.
Mhm.
So I having tools to help first responder couples move through conflict
Mhm.
and just be able to support each other and keep that safety in place is so
Absolutely.
incredibly important. And so
Yeah.
I love this one. Perfect.
And I will say too that here's the other thing that I think we've maybe noticed about being psychotherapists is if you don't have connection in a positive way, you will seek it in a negative way,
Yep.
right? And so if your partner is trying to connect with you and not getting anything, that's often where these little bombs start going off, right? It's almost like
Yes.
negative attention is better than no attention.
Mhm.
Again, looking at this, and
Yeah,
it
well, I was
sucks.
just thinking, just like kids, we just revert.
It, pretty
I mean, the
much,
brain
pretty
wants
much.
what it wants, right?
Exactly. Again, giving some more tools and skills so that you can feel more confident. And, we don't have to have conflict if we're on the same page about what conversation we're having. That also shortcuts a lot of the conflict,
Yeah,
diffuses it
absolutely.
immediately, because the minute you're like, wait, hold on, what am I doing? What are you doing? What position are you
Mhm.
in? What position do you want me to be in? Do you want me to fix, or do you want me to just empathize? Right? That conflict goes away.
And you're set up for success as a couple on
Exactly.
both ends. That's okay.
Exactly.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your book. So
Mhm.
your book is Strong, A Field Guide for the Modern Man. We've talked now
Yes.
about two of these concepts in your book. I am totally buying your book
Mhm.
now because I am just this is awesome. Tell us about the book and what are people going to learn from the book?
I call it a field guide, and I wrote it for men, not because, again, there's this whole thing. It's, oh, you're a woman, you wrote a book for men. Oh, are you telling us that we're the problem? No, what I'm trying to do is
Nope.
give you a leg up here, because I often
Yes.
see that when couples come into therapy, the woman might have already been doing her own work for a couple of years, or she's been doing research, she's been reading, and sometimes even just the basic phrases that she starts to use, the guy's, where did you learn that? What are you talking about? And immediately he's one down in the
Yes.
process. And
Right.
I don't mess with that. I believe that any strong relationship has to be an equal partnership. And in order for any good couples work to be done, both of you have to have the same equal skills and tools to be able to do the work together. Otherwise,
Yeah.
often we're just reinforcing the cycle of the overfunctioning woman, underfunctioning man. This It doesn't work. It's not, and it's very not sexy. This is research. I put it
Very
in my
not
book.
sexy.
It
You're
really
right. It's not sexy at all.
not sexy. That's why I wrote this book for men, because I've packed so much in here.
I'm looking at it. That is a packed book.
It's packed, and but I did it like a field guide, because with that, there's little things that you can just open it up and hopefully find something important just as soon as you open it up. So STRONG is an acronym of what I've broken down are the 6 key elements of a healthy relationship, right? Everybody's I want a healthy relationship. What does that mean? I've broken it down. A healthy relationship is safe. There is trust. There is respect. They are open with each other. They nurture each other, and they are generous. That's the acronym.
Nailed it.
And
Yes.
what I've done is also divided it into 2 sections. It's part 1 and part 2 of the book. Part 1 is STR, safety, trust, and respect. If you don't have safety, trust, and respect, you don't have a relationship. It's just 2 people struggling.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Yes.
Yeah. That's about relationship survival. The first half of the book, if your relationship is struggling, or you feel like maybe you want to get into a relationship, but you don't even know if you have the skills or tools, maybe your last relationship crashed and burned, look at the first 3 chapters, because that will give you those 4 skills of safety. It'll talk about trust and how attachment styles play into trust. And then it talks about respect, which for men, again, this is something that is often very different between men and women, is men need respect to feel loved.
Yes.
Just love without respect doesn't work. And that's the first 3 STR, the first 3 chapters are about what a relationship needs to survive, right?
Okay.
And then I do a little halftime. And then the second part of the book, the last 3 chapters, are openness, nurturing, and generosity. And these are the things that a relationship needs to thrive, right? You have to stay open. The person that you married when you were 25 is not going to be the same person that retires 30 years later. So being open to continuing to explore each other, being open to sharing with each other, and it's funny because my husband, he's a first responder, and he has a sticker on his laptop that says, "I hate change. I hate everything the same." That's kind of that dilemma, right? Where it's like, the reason I put openness as integral to a healthy relationship is because guess what? Change is going to happen. So yes, you might hate change, and yes, you might hate everything the same.
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable. So embrace it, incorporate it into your relational strategy. And then N is nurturing, which again, fathers are so important. Being able to, as a man, embody nurturing with your children. So that actually, the nurturing chapter is the one that has the most research about how impactful fathers are, how impactful men are in the nurturing of their relationship. Often, again, in the way that we've bifurcated our culture, is women are in charge of nurturing, men are in charge of maintenance. But you have to also be involved in the nurturing of your relationship, your children, your emotional connection. Otherwise, the relationship will not survive on just maintenance, right? It's like, I put it in my book, it's like if you only fed your kids on a schedule that was in a book, your kids would not thrive.
No, they wouldn't thrive.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you only had sex with your partner based on a manual, like on the average of couples your age, and right?
Yes.
So nurturing is about being present and paying attention to what your relationship needs and being an active, invested participant in that process. Nurturing is about keeping something alive, which is you have to be present.
Right.
You have to be in there.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to attune to it, and you've got to understand what's going on, pay attention to it. Right. Love that.
And I have another couple, again, skills and tools in the nurturing chapter to make it easy. And then the last one is generosity. And this, again, this is kind of where I go to, this is the fairy dust of a relationship, right? And that you can't start just with generosity, because that's where it often looks like self-neglect. Right? And again, with some first responders where they're like wanting, they're givers, right? They're like, this is what I do for a profession. I want to give, I want to give. But generosity without the rest of this structure also just leads to burnout in a relationship, because true generosity comes from a place of fullness, right? Where you feel safe, you trust your partner, you respect them, you're open with them, you feel nurtured, and then you can be truly generous, right? And I have a little line, it's hard to be generous when you're starving. And yeah.
Oh, yes. So
In
many
that
good quotes
chapter,
here for sure. I love that. I love that model and how you're going to walk it through. I'm totally getting this book. And so I think it's on Amazon. Are there
it
other
is.
places where they can get it?
In Austin, you can get it at Book People.
Okay.
Also get it on Barnes and Noble online. There are a couple other places online that you can get it off. Obviously, my website, strong.love. But yeah, and it's also on Audible, because I know for a lot of first responders, my husband included, he has a commute, so he'd rather listen to a book. He also falls asleep when he reads a book. Listening to it makes it easy for him.
That's awesome. You and I have to talk because I get chewed out all the time because my book is not on Audible. So we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So it's on Audible, which is great.
Yes.
So Audible
It's on
online.
Kindle Unlimited as well. So if you have
Okay,
Kindle
Kindle,
Unlimited.
online book retailers. And if you happen to be in Austin, Book People is an amazing bookstore.
It is.
So, and been around for decades.
Yeah.
So it's the fun and quirky bookstore that everybody needs to go to. So very good. You said your website was
Strong.love.
strong.love. There is no .com, .net,
No.
.us, .anything
No.
else. I was shocked when I learned that. So strong.love, and that is Kristal's website. How else would people, is that the best way to get a hold of you if they wanted to find out more information or connect with you in some way?
Yes, definitely. And on there, I've got the bibliography for the book, all of the resources that I've referenced. I also have an ongoing database of, I love reading. So not everybody does, and then any kind of podcasts or any YouTube videos that I find that are useful, I add them to the resource page on my website.
Yeah.
And then also my husband is going to be starting a book club for my book. So
really? When
yeah.
is that happening?
He's starting in June. He's going to do the first
Starting
one.
in June. Okay. This
Yes.
might not be coming out in June, guys. Maybe I can get it out before June. If so, like, would it be online if some people wanted to join in? There's a contact page. So go to strong.love if you're interested in Mr. DeSantis, Captain. I don't know what his title is. What's his
No, we have different
Commander?
names. He's
okay.
Captain. Yes.
Captain, Kristal's captain husband.
Yes.
Leading the book club. So that is a really cool resource because he could connect with first responders in a different way and maybe even challenge them. Very cool.
Yeah.
Kristal, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Was there anything else, any closing messages you wanted to give us at all?
I guess if I could leave with something, just hope, right? Is that relationships are really hard when you don't have a guide, you don't have the skills. And it's one of those things I think we expect everybody to innately be good at. So if you're out there and you're listening and you feel like somehow you're getting it wrong because you're not very good at it, or your relationship is struggling and you feel kind of maybe shame that, like, how did I get to this point? Is have some hope, because the minute you get a guide, the minute you start to practice, being good at relationships is a skill that you can learn, that you can get good at. So I hope this gives you hope in listening to this podcast and getting the book and all of this, that you can also be a really skilled relationship master.
You just need the tools, and Kristal has it all in her guidebook. Just grab it. I am definitely going to be using these 4 S's. I am talking to my husband, maybe not tonight because I have a speaking gig, but soon, about these 4 positions, because that is awesome. There's so much good information. And once again, if you want to get a hold of Kristal, it is strong.love, and that is her website. Kristal DeSantis, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Guys, until next time. Y'all keep it code 4. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. For more information about the podcast or Cyndi, check out code4couples.com. All intellectual property rights owned by CRLD2 Ventures, LLC, are protected by the firm of 9mm, 45 ACP, 5.56mm, and 12 gauge.